In November 2003, I published my first article on the trans issue. And maybe we could talk later about why I chose that time, because we've got no particular time now, but in the Q&A. But it was in the Telegraph magazine supplement, and the headline read, "I changed for all the wrong reasons, and then it was too late." And the story was pegged on a trans person by the name of Claudia, who, as a young gay man, very, very unhappy with his body and his life, came under pressure first from his boyfriend and then was fast-tracked by a shyster doctor called Russell Reed after a 20-minute consultation, and ended up having the full surgery and has lived since as the opposite sex. And I'd like to say that Claudia since then has been bullied, harangued and cast asunder from whatever the trans community was supposed to be for speaking out in support of what many feminists are saying. And the stand first in the piece read, "When, if ever, should a person have a sex change operation? And whose decision is it to make?" Julie Bindel reports on concerns that psychiatrists are too ready to recommend the knife. Already I've committed at least 10 hate crimes, right, just by reading this from 2003. Those were the days. And I interviewed somebody called Dr. Lindsay Miskow, a GP and sex therapist at the Royal Infirmary in Edinburgh, who counsels equal numbers of men and women wishing to change sex, she said. And she told me this on the phone. There was a study in 1995 where the brains of 6 exhumed transsexuals were examined and found to be more like those of the opposite gender. So obviously huge sample, very scientific study here. And bearing in mind that she obviously believed that being transsexual was genetic, I asked her when she would look out for signs in children. And she said, "It would definitely be apparent by the time they are 3 years old. If girls are playing primarily with trucks and footballs, and boys with dolls and prams, then there's very likely a problem." So I wrote in the piece about mermaids, and I explained what it was and that it had been founded in 1993, and that children as young as 14 were receiving puberty blockers, despite the fact that the Portman Clinic suggested that 1 in 4 teenagers who don't want gender reassignment will later change their minds. And bearing in mind this was 20 years ago, you would think they might have learned their lesson as opposed to have dug themselves further into it. And I say, transsexualism is the only psychiatric or medical condition where the patients can diagnose themselves. So